So when I explore the sacred sites of Ireland, I experience it as my soul place. It was my Irish heritage that first led me to explore these places through the spiritual practice of walking the sacred sites. Many of these sites are hidden away without the benefit of signage. Armed with Irish ordnance maps, sometimes my only clues were from the shape of the land pictured on the map or the various names on these maps pointing to ancient entities such as standing stones, holy wells, and fairy forts. The ordnance maps are amazing. That's what they list. They don't list parks or, what? Holy wells on a map? It's wonderful. So for over 25 years, I have returned over and over again to these sacred sites, and through the passing of time, it has become clear why I am compelled to return each time. The topography of Ireland and its sacred sites become doorways into my inner life. Ireland's land shapes and sacred sites begin to align with challenges in my emotional and thought life. One begins to inform the other as both outer and inner landscapes come together in a cohesive narrative of growth and discovery. Ireland's sacred sites, and this is true for all Celtic sacred sites in Scotland, Wales, parts of England, France, are a blend of early Christian and pagan cosmologies. And it is this spirituality that holds both traditions in their own unique, unified worldview. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith's sources are often described as animating forces. These forces are a living tradition of wisdom and spirituality drawn from and scripture and personal experiences, and these sources support and inform our faith's values. The sixth source celebrates the sacred circle of life and invites us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So just as our story had Bridget wearing her cloak, I invite you to wear the cloak of a Celt and journey with me. In earth-centered spiritualities, the doorway into the inner life is through nature. Nigel Pennick is a pagan in the Celtic tradition and the author of over 40 books on the spirituality of the Celtic peoples. He writes, Celtic tradition and beliefs are expressed spiritually through the land. The landscape is filled with places where spirit is present. Every time we experience this, this presence encourages us to make a creative act that personifies the place to us, thus creating a relationship with the land. This practice is called anima loci, the soul place. When this is acknowledged and honored, ensouled sacred places come into being. Love Nigel Pennick. And I would add that this act of creating ensouled sacred places is woven into the fabric of art, music, mythology, spirituality, and everyday life in Irish and Celtic culture. Bridget and the Poor is a mythic story about creating anima loci, the ensoulment of the sacred. And in this beautiful tale, the ensoulment of place, love this, is created by an act of justice. Right? The ensoulment of place is created by an act of justice. The act of justice not only makes sacred the earth, but in doing so, revitalizes it, creating green as far as the eye can see. There is so much suffering and inequity in this world. We, as UUs, are a people that believe that the kingdom of heaven is here on earth. and we work to make it so in all kinds of ways. When injustice is addressed, it releases energy. So like the story of Bridget and the poor, we understand that justice-making and renewing energy go hand in hand. And so our first Celtic spiritual practice, Anima Loci, is to ensoul both a physical place and a place inside of ourselves. The Anima Loci presence asks a question of us that the poet Rilke poses in this first line of an unnamed poem. And I'm going to say it twice because it's only a phrase. Earth, isn't that what you want? To arise invisibly within us. Earth, isn't that what you want? To arise invisibly within us? The second spiritual practice is Anam Cara, listening to another's heart. Pádraig Ó Tuama, an Irish poet and theologian, recently wrote a piece about St. Patrick on his blog, Poetry Unbound. He says, Patrick left a confessio, a document that tells part of the story of his life. Apparently, Patrick listened to his heart and was in touch with the rhythm of his soul through his dreams. Ó Tuama writes, dreams continued to guide him throughout his life. He paid attention to them and used them almost like a dialogue partner for his decisions. Roll over Carl Jung. Of course, we know him as the 5th century saint, instrumental in the creation of organizational form, the building of churches, schools of learning, and large monastic communities. There's another aspect of the early Celtic spiritual community, and that was the founding of small spiritual communities. Many small communities sprang up, inspired, believe it or not, by the aesthetic way of the Middle East Essenes. And they led lives of contemplation and prayer in harsh, remote locations throughout Ireland and Scotland. In addition to leading contemplative lives, these communities pushed the boundaries of intentional community. The Irish poet and theologian John O'Donoghue spoke about spiritual community as having the capacity for compassionate presence, being soul friends to each other, being an anam cara, one who understands the other's heart. John Morgan, author of Awakening the Soul, writes, people come to spiritual communities for connections to one another and to what is transpersonal and transcendent. Meeting together in small groups becomes a way to offer both intimacy and ultimacy in our midst. I love that quote. Intimacy and ultimacy. I'm not sure that's a word, but I like it. The practice of anam cara asks us to increase our capacity to tolerate differences and personal quirks of others so we can truly understand another's heart. Here at UUFNW, there are many pathways to community and in experiencing compassionate presence. The central activity of the congregation happens on Sunday mornings with worship and religious education. There are circle suppers to get to know each other, women's and men's groups, ministry teams. We serve the Mount Kisco Food Pantry and the ESP. I'm not sure what that stands for. Thank you. Homeless outreach and other local justice efforts. Which brings us to the third Celtic practice that I like to mention today. I'm sure there are many. And that is a practice called Amrun, allowing oneself to be sung by the universe. Amrun is part of a Celtic indigenous medicine way. This practice is not for the faint-hearted, but it is the realm of the mystics and probably certain tribes of musicians. Can one empty oneself so completely through deep listening, meditation, and contemplation that one begins to allow the universe to sing through you, to create sound through you? This third Celtic practice asks us to empty ourselves, to sing home the suffering, and to stand up for all life. And I would like to share with you a song that is over 1,500 years old. It's unbelievable to me. Carol, could you give me a middle C? Thank you. Oh, I got middle C's out there. I want to say something about this song. It is over 1,500 years old, and the name of it is called Quina na Dremuera. It actually is a song of lamentation. It translates as the keening of the three Marys. However, this is a medicine song, so it is universal. It opens a doorway into the suffering and the restoration that happens when we cry out about injustice and suffering. So it's both. It's lamentation and restoration. I need that C again. Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful. Fadir aspal awakatum grogial o kan o kasachano dahanik meir balei ilarnawad kan agesochano kei han farbrashin ekran the pasha o kan o kasachano aneinak nanir dawakan warin o kan agesokano anei shinamakin a jumpa maitri ra o kan o kasachano no one shinamakin a ragu sastobla o kan agesokano anei shinamakin a haluin haxlira o kan o kasachano ashtei wahalin is no bikracha o kan agesachano isanei shinan kasur avutriad natarni o kan o kasachano no ani shinan tlo ahuvitri dalorgia o kan agesachano goyle hakoira gagwina shiv magraliam o kan kano ke atola queen agmonini akrava o kan agus o kano o kan agus o kano. So this summer, I will return to Ireland. I will walk sacred sites with my Celtic practices as my companions. I will greet the sacred places with my creative energies to create anima loci. I will give thanks for all of my soul places, Ireland, the Hudson Valley where I live, and this faith community. I will express my gratitude for the Anam Cara beloveds that tether me to this earth. And I will listen deeply for the universal song that wants to sing through me. Thank you for journeying with me and us, energizing this source of our faith. Earth-centered spirituality invites us to be spiritual explorers, cultivating a relationship with the earth, honoring the divine feminine in all things, exploring vital expressions of community, and creating time and space for our inner landscape to inform and guide us. As we conclude our time together, it's time to take out that little paper with the earth on it. This is actually a seed paper. And if you are interested in creating an experience of anima loci in your life, we invite you to plant the earth seed paper in a favorite special place of yours. Again, Rilke, earth, isn't that what you want to arise invisibly within us? So you can start it inside in a small pot and transfer later outside in a larger pot or in the earth. And you just plant it 1/4 inch under fertile soil in warm sunlight and keep it damp.